listening to Strides and Vibes. Whether you're on a long run, a lunch break, or stretching out with your foam roller, welcome to the podcast all about moving better, living healthier, and vibing higher. I'm your host, Mario Buchs, elite running coach, ultra-endurance athlete, and founder of Healthetica Coaching, coming to you from the trails, tracks, and streets of Gadigal country in Sydney, Australia. Each episode, I'll bring in guests from all walks, from coaches, athletes to world-class performers, as well as doctors and professionals in their fields, to unpack their stories and explore the mindset shifts, science, and practical strategies that help us go the distance in running and in life. So, lace up, tune in, and let's move towards a better you, one stride at a time. Hello, welcome back, and welcome to whoever is coming in new here. And you can see on my left or on my right, depends on how this recording works out in the end. Lovely guest, Isobel Tate. And Isabelle is a coach with all the accolades you need, personal trainer, nutrition specialist, basically focusing on sports psychology and ultra endurance, running and also cycling. So she's got everything you need in the backpack to become a coach and be a really good coach. We'll also talk a little bit about Isabelle's success in running herself, of course. But first and foremost, let's dive in and ask Isabelle the same question and ask everyone else. Isabelle, first of all, welcome to the Strides and Vibes podcast.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
And so what makes you you?
Oh, holy moly, what makes me me? I don't know. I've always been a little bit different to everybody else. I never fitted in. I was a little bit strange. I didn't look like anyone in my family. And I've always, in Australia had an accent. So wherever I go, people are like, where are you from? So I've always felt like I didn't fit in wherever I went. And I think, I tried, to be honest, not many sports. I was not a sporty child at all. I would read. That's all I loved doing. But I think running is one of those sports that it's actually good to be a little bit different and to be a little bit odd. And that's what, especially ultra running, I think that actually helps us. And that's why you find so many ultra runners who are a little bit different to other people. And I think that's what makes us so darn special.
We are definitely special, yeah. And everybody who listens in will probably be nodding, saying, yeah, I'm like looking in the mirror here. Yeah, correct, yeah. Not fitting in, a little bit. My story as well. I've kind of always been a foreigner in my life, even when I went back to Switzerland after spending a lot of time in South Africa, you're kind of not that Swiss, and obviously moving down here. And so that resonates with me, absolutely. And we have to be a bit odd. Exactly. That is very true. So obviously on this podcast, we love talking about humans, the human interaction. So what started your coaching journey? That's what would interest me now. Why would you think, I'm a good coach, I want to become a coach?
Well, I had gotten into running and I loved running. And I'm one of those people that when I do something, I like to learn about it so I can become expert at it. So no matter what I do, I want to become expert at it. So I took, like when I did mountain biking, when I used to race that, I read all the books on that and, and that sort of thing. But that was stopped through injury and then having children. And then once I got into running, I just devoured all the books. Back when I started running, back in the olden days, it was just the books. There was very limited internet stuff. So I've got, bookshelves upon bookshelves filled with books. And to be honest, I think they're better because you can go back to them. You can see the things you highlighted back in the day and go, really? That was new information? Like that's so obvious, and those sorts of things. But So I just devoured all the books that there were. I learned everything. I did a lot of testing on me, diet testing, training testing, all sorts of different things, just to see how different things work. Came up with different ideas. Then I would research them and to see whether that was backed by science, and generally it was. So, I was kind of validated in my own ideas. And so then I come from a teaching background, so I love to teach. I love to help people. The problem with teaching is there's not a lot of that going on anymore. It's all teaching to the test, testing. Parents who, if you don't treat only their child as if it's the only child in the classroom, then you're no good teacher. So I still wanted to teach and be part of that, helping people achieve their best. But I knew in teaching per se, that was no longer the goal. The goal was for kids to pass a test, and that's not my jam. I want them to pass a test because they understand the work, but I want them to get joy from learning and joy from life and exploring ideas and those sorts of things, and live a life of curiosity. And I could see the education system was definitely not going down that route. So I was just jack of it, quite frankly, and I just started to, get my certifications. I started, while I was still teaching, building a website, getting a few things going. I had no idea how to start a business. Of course, we never do. I think the best way, once again, how to learn things is to actually just do them. And I love to say, imperfect action beats no action.
Oh, I love it.
So I just started the business, and I figured if I poured my heart and soul into it and really give people great value and a great experience, then naturally it will work because that just makes sense to me. And so, that's basically how the coaching started. I'd had enough of teaching. I just couldn't handle it anymore, but I still wanted to be part of that sphere. And I felt I'd learnt so much from running. Once again, you can never stop learning, as you yourself know. I am constantly studying and still buying books because I love books, but doing courses constantly and constantly upgrading my skills and certifications, because I think A, my clients deserve it, and B, I just love learning. I love it. I just love learning. It's my favourite thing, other than running, obviously.
We learn while we run, which is great, right?
Absolutely.
People say we can't multitask. I don't think we can, but I think we can learn while we're on the run. So they're definitely two good things that we can do. No, I love that answer. Thank you. It's the thing is as well, I looking at how I do it, very similar, constantly learning. And it's also this respect towards the people that we work with, because at the end of the day, it's human first for me, always. Yep. I call them all athletes, of course. All my runners are athletes.
Yes, absolutely.
It doesn't matter pace. I don't even, the word slow and stuff is not allowed in my vocabulary when I talk to people, and because it's a negative thing, and people can hide behind it. But also, if we're constantly on top of things, it just shows that we care about the people that we work with, and that for me is very important. So you're obviously you mentioned cycling, mountain biking, which is similar to what we do on the trails, of course. So when you consider talking to your athletes, or the people that you coach, and they come to you, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you talk to these people? Because just out of my experience, and I'm just comparing it now in a positive way. First, I want to find out everything as much as they want me to know, right? This is a very thin line. Teaching is a lot different. Like you said, you've got the curriculum, you have to work towards it. What we're doing is a lot harder, because do we tap into their private life immediately, or do we just see, okay, how do they it's all built on trust, right? And asking the right questions, right? Yeah. So what's your approach when you take someone else on, someone new?
Yeah, straight away, I don't, delve into their private life, but I do need to know a little bit. And I say that in the questionnaire that, this impacts your running. like, because it does, and everything impacts your running, your whole life. And, in my monthly coaching calls with my athletes, I mean, we get into some deep topics and we get quite personal. And I find out, a lot about my athletes because it impacts everything. It's your life. I mean, it's their life. And, we spoke off air before about how I'm doing a life coaching course. And the reason I wanted to do this is because a lot of what I do in my coaching of athletes is life coaching. And I want to come at that from a perspective of knowing what I'm doing. Like, I think I'm pretty good at all that sort of stuff. But, I want to come at it, like I said, I like to be qualified in things because I want to be an expert, and I don't feel right trying to give people life coaching guidance without having at least done some study. Like, I've done a lot of reading, but I like to be qualified in these sorts of things. And I know there are some people who poo-poo life coaching and think it's just a crock, but it's not. I'm not doing one of those courses that you do in 3 months. Like, I've been doing this for nearly 2 years, and it's cost me, and I'm still paying it off, quite a significant amount of money, right? So this is not just some, life coaching qualification you can get on Instagram. So I want to be in the best position possible to help my athletes. And if that means I've got to do a life coaching course, then that is what I will do. Because, like you say, it gets really personal. And at the start of my journey with an athlete, I have a thing saying that, there's confidentiality. What they tell to me, I'm not going to be sharing. And so my athletes know that they can talk to me with 100% confidence, and that I will do whatever is in my power to help them, because I am more than just a running coach. I am, a life coach, because running is life. We all know it's a metaphor for life. And I certainly know, I've had some difficulties of my own in my life, and running has helped me navigate them. And so I want to help my athletes navigate their lives with running as well. So not just get fitter and faster, but to have a better life, because I think they're so intertwined. You can't really separate them, to be honest.
Only people who do it can understand. This is the thing, right?
100%. Yeah.
And also, people have to be coachable to start with, right?
Yes.
This whole
but I think
magic.
the people who reach out for coaching are generally the kinds who are coachable, and that's fine. Not everyone wants a coach, and that's fine. But I personally see the benefits that my athletes get from the coaching, and they tell me too, and so. And I'm sure, you're the same, but you become good friends with these athletes as well. It's not just a coach-athlete relationship, although there's that. And I'll sometimes say to them, right, I'm going to put my coach hat on now, or I'm going to put my friend hat on now, because to differentiate the two, because we do become friends, and sometimes friends say different things than a coach would, if we're talking about life and all those sorts of things as well. So, I'm always careful to delineate them, but I'm also there for all of it.
Awesome. That's exactly what coaching is about, people listening in who are on the fence. Do I need a coach or not?
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell people to get coaching, but at the end of the day, it's helped me immensely. I mean, this whole mentoring journey and life coaching, and I fully agree with you. There's life coaching and then there's life coaching out there, right? Yeah. I mean, I know other coaches as well, because obviously I'm always interested in coaches, and, they do a counseling course to become like a counselor, to have that understanding, say, okay, when someone comes to me, because what we're not allowed to do ever is to assume. I mean, I'm a sales coach as well in my daily job, where I actually train our sales teams globally to how to operate in front of the customer and so on. And it's all about this, never assume anything, right? Just because someone's not in a good mood, that's got nothing to do with you. People take it all personal and all this kind of stuff. We need to sometimes just learn to respond rather than react, and just sit back. And if someone doesn't do the workout, say, okay, there's a reason, because they want to run, right? The reason they didn't run will be a really good one, and all these things. So I've learned that over the last 10, 12 years since I've been coaching and personal training as well, A guy once told me, I don't want to mention his name now, but he's quite famous in Australia in the personal training realm. And he said to me, he says, hey, a good personal trainer has a personal trainer. And that's always sat with me. And I'm like, just be coachable all your life, you know, and this is what I try and do, surround myself with the right people. So when did you start peak endurance coaching? When did that start? Well, how many years are we talking about?
In 2019, at the beginning of 2019, because my awesome idea was at the end of 2019 was to hit the ground running in 2020 by quitting my teaching job, working in gyms and being a running coach. And we all know how that went down, because I suddenly went from being able to pay my mortgage to not being able to pay my mortgage. And of course, I didn't get any government assistance either. And it was an absolute nightmare, but it was also the best thing because, and I remember I was speaking to a girlfriend, you know, and crying on the phone to her. And she was like, Isabelle, you've just got to be strong. And I said, I'm sick of being strong. I'm just sick of it. But you know what? It made me even stronger, and it does. And sometimes you just, it's like, once again, like ultra running is a metaphor for life. It's just one foot in front of the other. And I did that, and I grew the business with no concept of marketing, business building, anything. But I built the business and got it running so that where it is almost my full-time job. I do also teach just relief teaching at the local high school, 1 to 2 days a week. That's so I can afford my European trips and those sorts of things, and the nice little, you know, extra things like, you know, new pairs of shoes and all that, you know.
Race entry fees.
Yes, you know, exactly. God, yeah. You know, I do still, and also I, because as being an online coach, although I talk with my athletes on Zoom and that sort of stuff, or on the phone, or we text, and it's constant all day, every day, it's not the same as being with people in person. And I find with the teaching, it gets me out of the house, gets me, because, you know, these last 2 days I've been a little bit unwell, so I haven't even left the house. I've done like 1,000 steps each day for the last 2 days. It's been awful. And so you just don't end up leaving the house. If you don't go for a run, you're not doing anything. And so the teaching gets me out talking to other people, being, you know, a bit of a member of society again, rather than just holed up in front of my laptop and working on plans and that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, it's been quite the journey. It's really, so this is the business in its 6th year. And it's going really well, and I'm loving it, and the athletes that we have are absolutely amazing. Like they're all just such awesome people, you know. And I mean, obviously that's running and ultra running, but I think I've been particularly lucky that, you know, we've got such fantastic people, and we're all such a great team.
I can imagine you attract the right people as well, you know. There's so much information now that people can do their so-called due diligence before they would, you know, contact someone like you. And I have the same. I'm blessed, right? It's like, I think it's how you give yourself out there as well. You know, people see what we do, right? Even if we are strong and active on social media or less, but people will know. And especially in Australia, it's a small, I'm not saying, you know, we're only got Australian athletes, but it's such a small country in a way with 24, 25 million people. I see it in my daily business as well, you know, when I was working here locally. Everybody knows everyone. And in our sport anyway, right? I mean, Western States was just on fantastic, right? It's kind of, they're doing the social media stuff now, and they follow the runners. And it's such a niche sport for us to hit 1.2 million viewers over the week. That's what they counted.
Is that what it was?
Over the week, on their live stream on YouTube, which is fantastic, but it's still a niche sport.
Yes.
So if you go to an event, it's like, oh, you know everybody.
Yes.
So, and it's good to know, and having lovely guests on like you, just knowing that we're there for the right reasons, and that is very, very important to me. This is why, you know, I'm asking these questions, of course, you know. And I also see you've got 2 people working for you as well, which is great. So that's
well,
good.
I mean, one's
Excellent.
a bit of a ring in, you know, Ron. I mean, he's done the UESCA course too, but you know, I kind of you know, I want him to be part of the business, you know, because we do everything together, as everyone has noticed. So, you know, it's really, I want him to be part of it, because eventually I'd like it to be that he's working on this instead of going off to work every day too. And then I have Zoe, and she was one of my original clients. Like, she came on at the beginning of 2019, so she knows my system and my philosophy and how it all works. And she's brilliant. She's not huge on social media, but you know, a lot of ultra runners aren't actually big on putting themselves out there on social media, and I'm never going to be the one to force her to do that. I'm, you know, obviously, as people know, I'm always on social media, but it doesn't bother me. And I think that comes from coming from a teaching background. I'm used to being in front of people talking. It doesn't bother me. But she is just an amazing athlete. She's doing a lot of high rocks at the moment, and she also is great at coaching people. The athletes that work with her just rave about her, just like they do the ones who work with Ron. And so once again, I've been really fortunate that I've got good people working with me as well, you know, and sharing my philosophy, because you've got to be able to share my philosophy, and you know, and I love it that you say it's about humans, because it's interesting, because I was talking to a new athlete yesterday about, you know, she'd been using an app, an AI-based app for running, and I said, you know, what the difference, you know, I said basically, but what the app was getting you to do sounds correct, you know, like, it's not wrong, but it's the human touch that makes a complete difference. It's the ability for me to adapt it to you as a human being, for me to see things that AI can't see, you know, and people were getting caught up maybe a little bit in this AI stuff, and I get it. I love AI, don't get me wrong. But the human touch, you can't really actually replace that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I spoke about this with Az Roberts on my last podcast about AI. He's into digital marketing, and he's a creator. And I mentioned it there, and I'll just repeat it now because I find it quite important. You know, people always say, oh, will AI replace people? Probably not. Yeah. But people using AI or people not using AI will be replaced by people using it. End of story. I mean, that's not just in the corporate world. That will also end up in our world, where it's a lot quicker to get some data together, but then we add the human touch, your experience. Of course, you can type in, what do I need to eat during an ultramarathon? It'll tell you whatever, right? And obviously, you're qualified to talk to people about this. This will be just my next subject as well when it comes to sports. And I just want to tap into that a bit, because there's obviously a lot getting on out there, and people can read up. And like I just mentioned, Western States was on, and Precision Nutrition out of the UK. They measured every runner that ran for them. And it was very interesting to see I mean, they're all top runners. They're elite runners. There was one at 71 grams an hour, up to 123 grams an hour of carbs. Yeah, in that heat. So, yeah. Anyway, but for us normal humans, and how do you approach this? You know, I'm studying it as well at the moment with USCA. I actually had to extend because I ran out of time. But that's just one of those things when life happens, and I want to do it right. Like you said, I want to do it right. I don't want to wing through the test and not having learned something. I'd rather read through it once again and then say, yeah, now I'm ready for the test. You know. So what's your approach to sports endurance?
What do you mean?
In the year 2025, with your experience, where do you see this heading? Point number one, because you've got a very big, you know, a large experience.
Yeah.
And what do you say to people? Hold on, don't read too much what's on the internet. Just be mindful. This is what we really need. I mean, you don't have to go into any details and give away any secrets, but
no.
It's about teaching the people who listen in, saying, hey, I don't need 120 grams of carbs an hour because I'm not running in 4:45 pace, 100 miles. Done, right? This is the thing, huh?
Well, I mean, 120 grams of carbs is hard because it's hard on the gut. And I was saying just last night to Ron that, you know, cyclists can do 120 grams of carbs an hour, but runners generally top out at 100 simply because of the jostling of the stomach. So I'm surprised to hear there's a runner doing 120. God, I'd shudder to think that would have been like quite painful. But So do you mean in nutrition or in endurance generally?
I would say just combining both, because as you mentioned it earlier on, running's a lifestyle, right?
Yes.
So
So,
just
all right,
ask.
so in endurance, what my personal belief is and is you've got to get faster at the shorter distances. So okay, yeah, I'm training for a miler, but let's get your 5K faster too, because every time you get your 5K faster, you get your 10K, you get your half marathon, you get your marathon, you get your 100K, everything gets faster. And as much as we love the journey and the process and all that, we still want to get those races done as fast as possible. And the faster you can run, the bigger engine you've got, the better you're served in your ultra. So that's my main thing, is that I get all my runners to do speed work. And we start with short speed work. Like I go from least specific to most specific. So we will start with 1 minute intervals and those sorts of things. And it's like, how is that relevant to ultra? Well, it is, because you want to have be able to access all gears, right? You don't want to just be driving along in fifth gear, right? Because when you get to a short, steep incline and you haven't got first or second gear, then you're screwed, right? So I like to develop all levels of fitness. That's my main philosophy, is let's get faster and not let's just plod. I do agree, though, obviously you've got to still have easy runs and those sorts of things. And I'm a huge believer in running to feel. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm all for the data from a watch, but like today I ran, let's say, and I ran really slow because I felt crappy because I've just come off 2 days of not being 100%. And if I'd sat there going, oh my God, that is way slower than my normal, I would have, absolutely killed myself. And at first I'm like, oh God, this is terrible. Then I thought, no, just chill, Isabelle. This is what you're feeling. This is your body telling you at the moment. Let's just run a bit and, whatever. And I didn't even set myself a distance. I ended up doing 7.5K, some random distance, because that's what got me home. It was more today about getting out. And sometimes that's what it's about. And I think listening to your body and not, people who listen to my podcast know that I'm big on not, stressing about the Strava kudos and not running going, oh my God, what will people think? You've got to sometimes run slow. And sometimes my easy runs are slow and sometimes they're fast. But I'm not governed by pace. But they will never be fast, as in, when I say fast, I mean fast for an easy run. They're never going to be fast, because I do believe that too many people run their easy runs too fast.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So when I say fast for an easy run, I mean fast for an easy run. I don't mean fast. And so I believe in running to feel, and it should feel absolutely easy. And that way, when you're doing the hard work, you can really go hard, and that's what it should be about. And I think, as you well know, that a lot of people who don't have a coach run in this grey zone where they never improve because they run all their easy runs too fast, which means they can't run their hard bits fast enough, which means they're just kind of blur. And like I said, with this whole getting fast a bit, is you need to be able to access all different speeds. And if you're only ever running at one speed, then that's all you're good at. So we need to be able to access all the different speeds. And so to me, it's about getting faster, and it's about listening to your body. And this is where what I'm talking about with the AI is, because, like I was saying to all my athletes, I say, there's data. I can see the data on the screen from the workouts that they've done. I say, but you've got to fill in the diary, the comments section. I said, because that data doesn't tell me whether it felt good, whether it felt bad, whether there was a headwind, whether there was an uphill, downhill, rain. It doesn't tell me anything. It just tells me you hit the pace. But I don't know if you hit the pace and that was like hell on earth, or if you hit the pace and it was like, God, that was super easy, because they're two different things. Still hitting the pace, the data still says the same thing. But even heart rate doesn't tell me anything, because heart rate can be high, but they could have had an extra coffee that morning. That doesn't mean it was hard work. Or they could be stressing because their kid didn't get home last night, and they're having a heart attack because of their kid, and their heart rate's up. And I'm like, oh, that was a really hard workout. Well, no, it wasn't. It was just that they were stressing, This is where the human component comes in, and we're listening to your body. And if you've got a big stress like that in your life, then you slow it down. Right? You don't try to hit the same paces. So it's, we do all this study and everything, and it's really good to know all the facts, but a lot of coaching is very nuanced and is an art as well.
Absolutely. What you've just said, I couldn't agree more. This is totally my philosophy.
Yeah.
Everything you
I got
said,
the feeling it was too. Yep.
the commenting is everything. Then
Yeah.
you relate it to the heart rate. Then you relate it to the pace. Absolutely. First, we
Yeah.
need the heart rate. So when do you start trickling in the sports endurance nutrition part when you work with athletes?
Well, I mean,
What's
that's
your
something
belief there?
we talk about all the time, and I want my athletes to be practicing their nutrition in all their long runs. I mean, essentially anything over 20 to 30 Ks. I mean, until 20 Ks, you don't really need to be taking gels every 20 to 30 minutes
Yeah.
or any kind of nutrition. And I'm not saying it has to be gels because God knows I OD'd on them many years ago and I can't have them anymore. I mean, I can a little bit. I'm starting to bring them back in a little bit, but I'm more a believer in real food and also not overdoing it with the electrolytes. I see too many people, taking electrolytes and having electrolytes in their gels and then taking salt tablets, and it's like, whoa, calm the farm. Like, your body can only process so much of that stuff. So I look at that too, because sometimes too much salt actually causes gastric distress.
Absolutely.
And so I like them to practice. But to me, race nutrition is not just the food you have on the run. It's the breakfast you have. It's the dinner the night before. It's how much fluids you've been drinking in the week leading up. It's everything. And so when I do actual plans for athletes, because I also do just, standalone plans for nutrition, I look at it all as well. And then, we practice, and we practice, when I say we, I mean they practice, but to me it's we because we're a team.
Of course, always.
Yeah. They practice the carb load or the race day nutrition, and then, we'll come back and forth, what worked, what didn't, what went down well. And although it's one race day program I'm giving them, we'll have maybe 3-4 Zooms, depending on what they need and how much we need to go back and forth to ensure that it's just right for them. Because I believe... And even then, even once it's just right, in 3 races' time, it could change. Once, obviously I don't keep going forever with them, but, I like to give them backup options, because even when you've got it 100% right, the next race it might not be, but if you've got backup options, you can move to them. So nutrition is such a huge part of ultra running, and people forget. They just think they can wing it on the day, but... How many people have had to DNF because of gut issues? Like I have too, when I've made stupid mistakes, when I've, sometimes you kind of think, oh, I'm all right, I've got this nailed. And then you just make one tiny silly mistake. So nutrition, and this is why I, as a running coach, want to focus on running, nutrition and mindset, because those 3 things it's like a 3-discipline sport, like a triathlon. That's the 3 disciplines, because you can't finish an ultra without the right nutrition, and you can't finish an ultra without the right mindset. So you have to work on all 3. It's a non-negotiable. So to me, it's a 3-discipline sport, and those are the 3 disciplines.
Very true. That's how I operate for myself, and also with my coach and with all my runners. It's very true. The thing is also, it has to be practiced, for all the miles we run or all the kilometers we run, we need to spend several minutes on the mental game as well. I mean, my next race is going to properly test me next
Which
weekend.
race is that?
It's the Elephant Trail Race.
Oh, yes. That
So
would be a good one.
I've entered the miler.
Nice.
I've just been up there for the weekend. I've done a lap on Saturday and a lap on Sunday, and just to see what I'm up against, to then have that mental preparation and all these kind of things. And I find it important.
Yeah.
Does it help? And just on this mental, the reason I'm mentioning it, and it's not about me and my running, but the reason I'm mentioning this, because you mentioned the mental game. I now know, okay, this is how long it's going to take me. It's not someone else telling me, Mario, probably it'll take you 5 hours a loop. No, I now know it'll take me 5 hours a loop. And you know what? I know the reason why. And I know when I can eat, when I shouldn't be eating, or, when I probably can't because I'm focused on other things, and how I get mentally prepared to do these 6 laps that I need to do, or whatever it is in the end, hopefully. And this is very important. It's this mental game that is the change. And this is what AI won't be doing.
Yeah.
Again, just going back to that. And we're not against AI. We love it. I use it every single day. But this whole mental preparation is everything. And no one outside of what we do would be able to help, because you need to have an understanding what people go through. You know, how much does it hurt at 100 kilometers in 162 kilometer race or whatever it is? If you don't experience that yourself, it's very hard to teach this, you know.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, in saying that, you know, like I'm always a believer in coaches should have done the races to understand them, but I'm not saying coaches should have had to have won them. And
No.
I don't think the best coaches are necessarily the ones who win everything, because they actually don't have an understanding of how tough it is for everyone else, because sometimes they're just genetically gifted. And yes, they work hard, of course they do, but when you're genetically gifted, you don't understand the slog that it takes for the rest of us who aren't genetically gifted. And I know I've won some races, but I've definitely never been in the position where I win every race. When I've won races, it's because I've bloody worked so hard to beat the people who aren't genetically gifted. So I understand the slog, and I'm at the point in my age and running now where I'm more up the back of the middle of the pack, you know, and so and even when I was winning races, I always started from the back of the pack. I would talk to everyone from the back of the pack right up to the front. So I would see the struggles of everyone. And I think, once again, like you're saying, that's that human touch. You don't get that through AI, but also in saying that, I think coaches need to have done races to fully understand it. But of course, I'm not saying that they need to have won them. And also, I hear some people saying, oh, I only want a coach who's currently racing. I don't think that's necessarily true either, because we can't all run forever. You know, the human body is actually quite a fragile thing. And also mentally, if you've mentally switched off from racing, it's really hard to push yourself to those levels. I think as long as they've done it and they understand what's involved and they're still keen for other people, I don't think a coach necessarily has to be currently training. What are your thoughts on that one?
To those people who think that, I would just have one suggestion. I've never thought about this, but it's just come to my mind. If people think they need coaches who also run, trust me, the more the coach runs, the more the coach races, the less time he has for you.
100%.
That's just my tip. So,
yes. I mean, I know that. Like when I was
it's a fine line,
yeah,
you know.
when I was at Barclay, I said to my athletes, I pre-warned them. I said, for that week leading up to Barclay, you know, unless it's an emergency, I'm going to be kind of off the grid. Mm-hmm. And they were totally cool. I got everybody set up. I had strategies in place. But, you know, if I was doing that sort of stuff all the time, then, yeah, I wouldn't have time for coaching athletes. No way.
Well, not as many. And then it's not personal coaching anymore, because this is what you and I are about. It's about this personal coach. If I had 100 runners, I'm not going to guarantee run number 97, 98, 99 get the same personal touch like everyone else, right?
That would be impossible. There is a limit to how many athletes
Absolutely.
you can have personal
Absolutely.
touch.
So, good. This is a great segue. Our racing, or more importantly, your racing. Yes, you've won a few races. You've won, one of the most prestigious. I still think it's an ultra because it's so bloody hard. 6 foot.
Oh, yes. Well,
what year was that?
It's technically an ultra, but it's not. And do you know what? I won that in regards to talking about speed as a training run when I was training to run a sub 3 hour marathon. And the only reason I did so well there was because I was fit and fast because I was training for a marathon, right? I was not training specifically for a trail race. I did maybe one trail run every few weeks because I love trails. But at the time, I was training for a marathon. So it just goes to show.
Perfect. So what year was that?
2007, 6 million years ago.
Wow, yeah. and 4:11.
Yep.
What a fantastic time. So I know you did do a sub 3 hour marathon. Was it that one that you then? So you did.
Then I did.
Okay,
I was aiming for like 250. I did 258, and it was the most horrendous experience of my life. It was so freaking painful that I didn't do another marathon for 10 years. Unless it was in an ultra. In a training run, huh? Yes, that's right. You know,
we love marathons when we train, don't we?
Yes,
it's great.
Because you can enjoy it. Like marathoning is bloody hard.
It is hard.
But my God, it made me fit. And what's surprising is because it makes you, even though you're training on the flat, to be fit on the flat, it makes you strong on the hills.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, very true.
Because if you're fit, you're fit.
I mean, look, I follow a lot of runners and also the old guys, plus the new guys, back in the 80s when coaching was already there, but kind of a little bit different to what we do now.
Yeah.
Basically, these guys were training for marathons
Yeah.
with a bit more volume, right?
That's
That's all
it.
it was.
And
There's,
essentially, I think we need to go back a little bit to that.
absolutely. We are very, hills every day and all this kind of, absolutely. I love hills. I think the most beneficial thing we can do. But you're right. If sometimes we just need to go back a step and say, hey, the simple things. The other thing as well is running training is more or less doing the boring stuff over and
Yes.
over and over and over and over
Always
again.
say
There is
that.
no magic pill. There is nothing. It's hard work, like you mentioned. If you want to do a good 6 foot, you need to be out there. You need to learn how to run fast. There's a lot of road runners who do well in 6 foot. Yes, it's technically an ultra because of the distance, but it's also quite, it's got a couple of lumps in there, and it's very hard towards the end. It can be a warm day and so on. I've run it, not the race. I was in this year. I obviously got cancelled, and so I'm going to do it next year. But I've run the trail many, many times, so I know the race, and it's a hard race. People always
It
talk
absolutely is.
Yeah.
And once again, when I started that, I was one of the I was not doing that well, like down the first descent and all that. Everyone sprinted off hell for leather as they always do, and I'm freaking out because it was a bit slippy. And I was not doing anything exceptional, but that's the way I race, and I think it actually would benefit a lot of people, is to start a bit slower and then pick it off. Because what's really good mentally is to be picking people off at the end rather than being the one getting past, So I'm not saying go super slow at the start. I was still pushing hard, but I wasn't redlining it, and I think that's important for people to, as a takeaway, is not to redline at the start of a race,
Especially down Nelly's Glen, I think.
Yeah.
I would take my poles down there probably.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
I
that was
only
the
know
first
Nelly's
time
Glen up.
Yeah,
So,
that was the first time I'd ever run in that area.
oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
I had no
wow.
clue what I was getting into. So
That's sometimes not bad, you
I
can,
think sometimes ignorance can be bliss.
I think so too. I mean, I did my first UTA 100 in 2017, and they
Yeah.
changed the course so much that none of it that I trained on was even on race day was open. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But now I think that elephant that needed a bit of because it's such a tough loop. I needed to see it, but yeah, you're right. 6 foot, how to. There's two big climbs, and if you know how to climb a hill, then obviously that works. Yeah, and a lot of people run it the first time and do well.
Yeah, at the time I thought I was bad at doing hills, but I just walked all the hills. Like I walked them. I did not run those hills, and
Wow.
So I mean. And I remember stopping up half of one of the hills because we'd gone through the river and I was emptying crap out of my shoes and all that sort of stuff. I was walking fast, but I was walking
With a purpose.
and
With
I
a
always say
purpose.
that hike with a purpose. It's not a Sunday afternoon stroll. So
Especially, like you've also done the FKT over 7 peaks in Victoria. I love the Victorian Alps. I've had a few weekends there and training, and I did Alpine Challenge in 2022, the 100 miler. One of my favorite events, absolutely.
yeah, it's a great one. Yeah.
So, Victorian Alps. Before we go to Barclays, because I think people will be interested just to learn a little bit about that. And then I also want to know about your favorite race, but obviously one question at a time. 7 peaks.
Yeah. That was not a favourite.
I bet.
I mean, it was pretty horrible. And my stomach went south right from the beginning because Ron made me a delicious egg sandwich, and for some reason egg sets my stomach off, and I felt guilty and I ate it, but it was it made me for the rest of and that was at about 20 or 30k. So
Oh, wow.
I only had 260 to go. So yeah.
It's a long way.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? It also brings to mind what the human body can do. And do you know what? I often say that to people. It's not so much what the human mind can do. For me, it's what the human body can do. It's the mind, because my mind is what drags my body around, right? My body just does what my mind tells it to do, because my body would give up long before my mind does. And honestly, it's my mind that drags me around. And that's why I'm so much into people trying to train their mindset, and it's not one of those things you can just oh, if I just think positive, it's not that simple. Like, you know, it's really a lot of training, and I've done a lot of mental training all my life, right? So that's what got me through that, to be honest, because it was so hard. And you know, it's not like when you're in a race where you've got people, you know, I mean, I had a whole support crew. It was awesome. I had brilliant people helping me, and people I didn't even know. Like, I think that was the first time I met Kai, because we were just talking off air before about Kai Bretts, who helped me for a large portion of that. And, you know, and this is what also reminds me of how good the ultra running community is, because there were three guys who came and helped who I'd never met before. And they gave up their time in the middle of the night, everything, to help me. And I just think that just personifies the ultra running community. But it certainly was super tough. I did that FKT, like Ron designed it for me, because I had looked on the FKT website and all I could see were FKTs that women had done that were flat, right? And I'm like, let's show that women can do tough things. And I thought that lots of women would follow my lead and would do it after me, but nobody has. So, which I'm a little disappointed about, because I think it's a great course and I think it's a great concept. But yeah, it certainly was tough. I have to say, it was incredibly tough, and by the end, it was just torture. But you know, I got it done, and that was the goal.
Good point with women. What a great segue, huh? Barclays.
Yes. Tough
20,
women, yes.
24. Talking about tough women. I'm just thinking about Jasmine Paris finishing, and I'm tearing up because it's just, for me, the most wonderful thing that ever happened in any bloody sport.
Yep.
People who don't know ultra running at all, text me.
Yes.
My Swiss friends who know nothing about running other than what's on TV in the Olympics text me with a video of Jasmine Paris. They say, what the hell is your sport all about? And I'm like, this is what it is. 90 seconds. You then, obviously, a year later, followed it, and you got into Barclays. I think, was this the first time?
The third time, yeah.
The third, sorry, yes, third time. Okay. So what are your experiences? 3 times?
Jesus, it never gets any easier. and I tell you what, it got worse this time because I got sick on the plane over. So I have not been that sick since I can't remember. I think the last time I was sick, I was like a teenager. I was so sick.
So like a flu or just stomach?
Flu, yeah, it was, I don't know, like it was the flu, obviously, because the flu feels bad. But the last time I was that sick was when I was young and I had glandular fever. So it was pretty bad. And, you know, fevers every night and just, you know, it was just terrible. But, you know, I wasn't going to, you know, I was basically better by the time I got to the race. Still had a bit of a sore throat that I got again during the night because it was freezing. But I was basically better. But, of course, worn out, you know. It takes a lot to get better when you've been going through that. So I was depleted to start with. And I had gotten so strong climbing hills. I'd done so much vert because I'd once again researched everything that people do training for Barclay, and one of the things they do, as well as working on speed, which I was still doing, is a heap of vert. So I was doing, you know, at least 7,000 metres climbing a week. I mean, some of the things I read said you should be doing 9,000 metres, but I didn't have the time. Like I had to coach athletes too. I couldn't spend my whole time training, right?
Correct.
And I didn't want to, because I don't think that's actually healthy to spend all your time. I mean, I'm talking healthy mentally as well. So, you know, I did around 7,000 and that was enough, because if I do one more hill repeat, I was going to stick a pencil in my eye. So, you know, I did a lot of work and I was super strong. Like I was leaving Ron for dust up those hills. And yet when it came to Barclay, I had nothing because I was so depleted. So it was a real bummer. But the best part of it was having my daughter there, because of course she thinks ultra running is totally dorky and crappy and I'm a dork. But as soon as Jasmine won Barclay and she knew that I had done Barclay before, suddenly I was cool. So, you know.
She's done a lot. Jasmine has done a lot for the running community outside of what people think. Yeah.
And you know what? We were in the UK just recently and in Scotland and experiencing not Scottish winter, Scottish spring. And I said to Ron, holy moly, I know why Jasmine was so freaking tough, because she trained in this weather all winter. And it was diabolical. It's so, that makes you tough, like that kind of weather, and the Scottish terrain, which is really hard. So we don't have anything that tough. So when I get to Barclay, I'm not used to running on something that tough. You know, I end up going, you know, whereas if she's run on that kind of stuff, she can nail the Barclay terrain, and anything weather-wise the Barclay throws at her is going to be nothing compared to a Scottish winter. So, you know, that's, once again, this is what I'm talking about, mental toughness, is it's about getting out there in the crappy weather. It's about, you know, Scotland, I don't know, middle of winter, probably not much sun for much of the day, or any sun, just daylight I'm talking. So, you know, out in the dark, out in the cold, out in the wind, the rain, you know, and just getting it done, and not just getting it done, but pushing yourself to be the best that you can be. So I think she got super tough from that environment. I mean, I'm sure she's tough as well, and obviously highly physically fit. And once again, she is obviously one of those genetic people, because she's done so much so well. And to be honest, I don't think it's healthy for women to compare themselves to her, because I don't think many of us have the physical capacity to be as fit as her, because she is like off the charts, right? But she's still there to show us what can be done. Right. Yeah, so she is awesome. And I just love the way when she finished, where she threw us, you know, just fell onto the gate, you know.
She didn't want to do another hill repeat either, I guess. I mean, it takes a lot out of people, you know. I think that was her last. I mean, Gary Robbins is another one who you know, gave his life to Barclays, and unfortunately, you know, it's. And obviously, we're not here to judge and comment on other people, but it's good to see that there are role models in our sport that are doing it the right way. And it just shows again that, okay, we don't need to get up at midnight, but those 4 o'clock alarm clocks and 3:30s every so often are what is needed and required to go out. Because if you do the hard things over and over again, it'll be easier on race day.
100%.
Very simple. You know, if you don't have those tools that you work with during training, it's going to make it even harder. Huh?
Yeah, and I was doing that in a, you know, like a little reel for social media. I was saying, you know, you can't flip a switch on race day, right? You can't suddenly go, right, now I've got to be full of grit and mentally tough and everything. It just doesn't happen by magic. You have to train it. And like I said, it's not just positive thinking. It's not just going, I think positively up this hill. It's about a variety of different things. It's like, you know, when things don't go well in a training run, not beating yourself up about it, but actually learning from it and moving forward from it, and finding the positives, because there's always a positive, you know. Or if you know, whatever happens, you know, working through it, you know, getting out in the crappy weather, you know, getting up at some horrible hour that no human should get up at to run. I mean, I did that when one of the Barclays that I was training for, I got up at 11, I went to bed and then got up at around 11 o'clock at night and started running by midnight and doing hill repeats all through the night until like 6 in the morning. So I've done that sort of stuff, you know, and it was horrible at first, but once you got into it, like your body, once you're awake, you don't really know what time it is. It doesn't really matter. You're awake, you're doing your thing, you know, and it just makes you that much more mentally tougher. And I think, as we all know, the modern world is geared to comfort. Everything is, you know, geared to make us comfortable, and that's great. Like, you know, I don't want to be living in a bark hut in the rain. I want a comfortable house with a heater and an air conditioner when it's 40 degrees. But by the same token, I think to embrace our humanness, we need to embrace discomfort at times as well. Strategic discomfort, not dangerous discomfort.
Yeah, and also not every day, I think.
Yeah, not every day.
Most days.
No. Yeah.
But if there's a choice, slight discomfort, comfort, I always go slight discomfort and see what happens. That's definitely the key. No, these are, look, so many nuggets in this discussion for people to take away and think, okay, yeah. The other thing as well is I have a couple of small rules that I always do with my runners. I say, look, if it's a tough run, finish that bloody thing.
Yeah.
And on a training run and you feel great, don't go more than it says on the thing.
Yes,
because
and that's important too.
very important. You know, I did my very last workout this morning at a bit of pace for next week's race, just to get a bit of anaerobic stimulation in there. And yeah, I felt great, which is good. I'm really happy, touch wood, you know. Could I have gone on? Yeah, absolutely. But stop, done, walk it home, whatever it takes, you know. So,
I mean, I tell my athletes, you know, you should finish your quality sessions feeling like you could do a little bit more. You should not be finishing quality sessions lying on the ground, vomiting in the gutter. You know, because that's the, you know, the David Goggins style mentality we see and that we celebrate. But actually, you should finish it feeling like, I don't want to do more, but I could if I had to.
Great. I'm not going to mention David Goggins. They know my opinion. Good. So
Look,
people
I
who
don't
know
mind
me.
David Goggins per se.
Oh,
I just think sometimes people take it to the nth degree.
Absolutely,
it's like anything,
It works
you know?
for him. Awesome.
And some of his philosophy, he's about, you know, anti-comfort too. And so to a certain extent, I agree with that. But then, you know, he's also become a persona, and that's part of his income.
That's fine. Absolutely. No, he's done well what he did.
He has.
Absolutely.
Good on him. You know?
Absolutely.
Good on him.
I agree. Fully agree. Before we close, looking ahead, have you got a dream event, a dream race that you would like to do? But before we go there, what's been your best running experience in your life? That can be coaching, that can be running a race.
I mean, well, a race I did, and I can never remember the flipping name. The first time I represented Australia in the World Long Distance Mountain Running Championship. Oh, the Jungfrau Marathon.
Oh, no
God, I
way.
love that.
No way. My neck of the wood. Now we're talking.
I love that. It was my
yes.
first time racing in Europe, and everyone was so lovely, and the people with the big, you know, things chiming them, and the cows and the open horns, and it was just so exciting, and I was like the first Australian, and it was awesome. So the race went well. It was just brilliant. I mean, I loved that. As a race experience, I just loved that. And of course, I ended the trip with, you know, visiting family and friends. So it was, the whole thing was brilliant. So that was brilliant. I mean, I get joy out of seeing my athletes do well, whatever that means for them. And I'm not talking necessarily winning or anything. Like, it's vicarious joy, you know, like, and I love that. And it's always was why I got into teaching, was when, you know, I used to see the kids' eyes light up when they finally got something, and it was like, yes, this is what I'm here for. It's the same thing, you know, when my athletes, and they message me and go, oh my God, that was freaking amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm like, yes, this is what I'm here for, is for you to have that moment. And if I can be part of helping someone achieve that moment, that just makes my day. But, you know, I would say that's my favorite race, you know. But I've done lots of awesome races, you know, I've been very lucky. I've done lots of brilliant races, but that was kind of the first standout race, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. So looking forward, have you got a dream race still?
Yes, I do. The Tour de Gion.
Oh, okay.
But it's really hard to get into for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because it's, you know, you know, God, what's the word? You know, it's random, right? And they do it by country. Now, my problem is they do it by birth country. And I was born in Great Britain. So there's a lot of people who enter from Great Britain, like heaps. Like if I was born in Australia, there's not so many people who enter from Australia. So I would have had a better chance. But every time I enter as a Brit, and it's really hard to
Country of birth. That's interesting,
yes.
eh?
Because
Wow.
I didn't realise that. It said, oh, where are you born? So I put in, you know, Glasgow, Scotland. And then later I'm looking and it's like, it says I'm British. I said, but I'm not. I'm also Australian. I've got an Australian passport. And I'm like, I'm coming from Australia. I want to enter as Australian, but no, it won't let me.
That's interesting, eh?
Yeah,
That's interesting,
so
eh?
anyway, if I get in, I get in. Like, I would love to do it, but you know, sometimes I think it's a blessing in disguise, you know, like it's a big deal, that race. Like
It is, yeah. They are very proud of that race in Italy there. Yeah,
you know, but there'd be a few hill repeats involved in my training for that one.
I bet. I mean, I don't know. It's got massive 20,000 meters, I think. Double of UTMB, which is
I think it's
a week before.
Yeah, I think it's more of a hiking race
Yeah,
almost than a
absolutely.
running
Yeah.
race, which probably, at my age now, probably suits me better. But it's a lot of work and then a lot of recovery, I would
That's the
imagine.
thing. Good point. For old people, yeah, you want to do the big races. I mean, I already know I'm going to be a month off
Yeah,
after next week, and I took 3 months off after Coast to Cozy, and this is just
yeah.
me. I'm not superhuman, definitely not.
I'm a big believer in having time off, and I know a lot of people want to get straight back into training. But I think, once again, it's not just about physically, although that's a huge component. I think mentally, you need a break from structured training and just to chill,
Absolutely.
and also maybe catch up with other aspects of your life, like your partner and your kids and
Yeah, everything. I mean, people. I always ask my runners, "How's your recovery going?" "Oh, the body's fine." I says, "I know the body's fine. We trained for that."
Yes,
"How's it up
exactly.
here?" "Ah, I'm struggling." There you go.
Yeah.
Don't worry about anything. Go on the bike, go for a swim, walk with your wife, your daughter, your son, your dog, whatever. What have you missed in the last 6 months?
Yeah.
What you've just said. I think this is a brilliant point to finish on, Isabel, on recovery and giving something back to our network who help us tolerate us, I think, in all aspects, and just give a little bit back. Thank you so much, Isabel. Thank you very
No
much.
worries. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really
Oh,
enjoyed the chat.
absolute pleasure. That's it for this episode, folks. As we wrap up, I want to honor the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on and pay my respects to elders past and present. May we continue to listen, learn, and tread lightly wherever we run. If today's episode sparked something in you, hit that share button, leave a review, or drop a comment on Spotify or YouTube. Every little bit helps keep the momentum going. Or even if you've got a question, feedback, or just want to say hi, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep moving, stay curious, and never forget, showing up is the hardest and bravest stride of all.